Good morning, students. I will give you a small introduction to the laboratory, E113 laboratory, Introduction to Electrical Engineering Practice. So right now I am sitting in the Well lab or Vadhwani Electronics lab, where all your experiments will be held till second year. In third year you will move to nearby labs. So all the electrical engineering department electronics related experiments are held in the Vadhwani Electronics lab. What I want to do right now is to introduce you to the basic components which you will be using, and also to familiarize you with the equipment. So first of all, let me show you the breadboard or the microboard which you will be using. So this is the microboard which you will be using for connecting, making all your circuit connections. What is important to notice here is this is basically a matrix of holes. Now what is done is you have these columns which you see here, they are all connected together, and so you can see a cut in the middle which is which divides the microboard into two halves. The top side also, these columns here which you see, they are connected together. Similarly, on the top you will see a blue line, and then you would see another red line. This is primarily for connecting the power supply. So here the entire row on the top is one. Similarly, the second one, the second row is connected together. And in the middle, these lines are not joined, which means this is another half. Similarly, here this half, the top line is connected together, the second line is connected together. But these two are not connected. If you want them connected, you need to use a wire to connect. Similarly, on the bottom, also you have two rows here, one on the top, one on the bottom. So just like the top, here also the top line is connected together and the bottom line row is connected together. Same here also. Now just to see, you can see the back side of a microboard. This explains to you. So you can see that they are all joined. All these columns are joined together, and you can see a cut in the middle, and the other half also you can see these columns joined together, and the top you can see these joints here. So this is how a microboard or breadboard looks like. So all your circuit connections you will be doing here. It's very important that you do your connections properly. Now let me introduce you to some of the components. I want to introduce you to resistors which you will be using. This one which you see here is a 2-watt resistor, and the next one is a 1-watt resistor, and these two you see here are quarter watt or 1/4 watt resistors. One very important thing to realize is that you will be almost able to say, looking at the size of the resistor, the wattage. So this, you can see this 2-watt resistor is very big because of the power dissipation. It will get hot, it need to dissipate. That's why the size is large. Now when you take a resistor, you would identify the value of the resistor using the color code. It's good to know the color code, but it's not absolutely necessary. What I have here is a 1 kilo ohm resistor. So there are 3 bands here, and on the extreme right side you would find a tolerance band, a kind of a gold color band. So this values here, this is brown, black and red. Brown, value of brown is 1, black is 0, and red is 2, which means 1 0 followed by 2 zeros, so many ohms, which is 1 kilo ohm. So these are the resistors which you will be using. Next I want to introduce you to capacitors. Now what I have here, these colored ones, are electrolytic capacitors. and they have large values. And you would find that one of the leads would be longer than the other one. The longer lead would be positive. Now it is extremely important to observe the polarity. If you don't, these capacitors can explode and can be very dangerous. So on the capacitor, either will be shown positive sign or the negative sign. So here this smaller lead is shown with a negative sign, which means that smaller lead must be connected to the negative point in your circuit, wherever, depending on the relatively wherever you are connecting it. Most of the times this capacitor value is 47 microfarad, and these are large values. Generally you would use electrolytic capacitors for in power supplies and kind of what is called decoupling applications. What we have, these tiny two capacitors you see here are ceramic capacitors. Now it's important to notice that in capacitors you would identify the capacitor by the dielectric which is used. So in the case of the electrolytic capacitors I showed you, the dielectric is basically formed through electrolysis. That's why they are called electrolytic capacitors, and they are extremely thin. That's why you get very high values. Now these are ceramic capacitors, so the dielectric uses ceramic, and that thickness would also vary. So most of the time you would be using these capacitors in the circuits. Now the ceramic capacitors and electrolytic capacitors unfortunately have very large tolerance. So therefore, if you have an application where the timing, especially in an oscillator, if you want to get very precise timing, then these capacitors are not generally preferred. You have better capacitors which you would be introduced later. What I have with me is a potentiometer. Now as you know, in a potentiometer you will have 3 terminals, and the central terminal will be the wiper. So to change the value of the resistor, you would have a screw on the top which you have to turn. So this would give you typically, depending on the type of the potentiometer, you may have to turn more than one. This would maybe a 10-turn potentiometer. So occasionally you would be needing this also for in your circuits. Next I want to introduce you to inductors. You would use inductors very seldom in your circuits. Now this particular one, even though it looks like a resistor, is actually an inductor, and the value of the inductance will be shown in terms of the color codes. Here I have another inductor which so most of the time the values will be printed on it. Now along with inductors, I also want to introduce you to transformer which you will be using in the power supply. So this is a step down transformer. So the primary side, this where you see these orange lines, this you will be connecting to the 230 volt power supply. Now what is extremely important is you need to make proper connections, for otherwise there's a chance of getting a shock. So you are not supposed to connect them with the naked wires. You need very careful. Now this is a step down transformer. Now on the secondary side you have these 3 leads here. So this is a center tap transformer. So let's say if it is a 12-0-12 which you would be using in the experiments, then what you would get is you will get 12 volt. Mind you, when you say 12 volts, it is RMS. So you will get 12 volts here, you will also get 12 volts RMS here. Now what is the purpose of the center tap? You would see that at a time instant, with respect to the center tap, you would see that there will be a phase difference of 180 degrees between this particular one and this particular one. When we talk about power supply, we will be talking about this later. So transformers are made using laminations, which again we will show you later. So this is you can think of a good application of inductors being used. So what I have here is a a transformer connected properly. So again you can see these pink wires here, which is the primary side, which are connected properly with insulation, so that there is no chance of you touching it. And the secondary side, center tap, it's brought on a connector for connection. So this is the box we expect you to use when you do the DC power supply experiment, and you have a plug connected here. So there is no possibility of you touching and getting a shock. And what we did last year was we made a power supply, and the regulated power supply outputs were brought on these terminals. So this is the way we would use a transformer when we do this experiment in the lab. Next, I want to introduce you to diodes. So what I have with me is a diode which we use in the power supply. You can see that there is a band here. In a diode you have an anode and a cathode, and you identify the cathode by this particular band here. So this will be the cathode and the other side will be the anode. You will also be using Zener diodes in the power supply. Now in the Zener diode also you would identify the anode and the cathode by the same like the diode. So you have a band here, a black band provided here. That particular band corresponds to the cathode. So in a Zener diode, since you will be using it in the reverse bias mode, so this particular point would be connected to the positive. Now we would later use this in the breadboards and will show you. The next component we have is an active component, which is a bipolar junction transistor. So it has 3 leads, a collector, base and emitter. So this you will be using in some circuits. So this is the bipolar junction transistor. What I have here is an IC, an integrated circuit. This particular IC is a voltage regulator 7805, which is a 5-volt regulator. The extreme left side is the input, the middle is the ground, and the right side is the output. Input can be anywhere from 7 volts to 40 volt, and the output will be 5 volts. That's why it's a voltage regulator circuit. What we have with us is another integrated circuit, an IC 741 operational amplifier, which you will be using in the lab. Now this particular IC has 8 pins. You can see 4 on one side and the 4 on the other side. Now what you would be doing is, on the breadboard, when you connect it, is extremely important that you connect one of these sides on, and so you need to identify the divide portion and then connect it such a way that the 4 on one side comes to one half and the 4 comes to the other half. Now in order to identify the pins, there will be an indent provided. So in this particular IC you have a tiny indent provided just next to pin number 1. Otherwise you can connect it wrongly. So this is pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, and that side 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is an operational amplifier. Next I want to take another digital IC. Again you will be using. This particular IC has 14 pins. So 7 on this side, 7 on the other side. Once again you have to connect it carefully such that it's connected properly with the 7 pins on this side and the 7 pins appearing on the other side. What I have with me is a digital IC 7495. This is a shift register. Now the way you connect is, this is a dual inline package like the previous case. 7 pins this side, 7 pins this side, 14 pins. When you connect it, first of all you need to identify pin number 1. Pin number 1, to identify, you have a cut here. So the next to that particular one on your left side, is pin number 1. So you would put it this way so that your pin number 1 to 7 are on this side, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, and 8 to 14, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 here. This is the way you would put it. So this is the way you would connect your breadboard. Now, if I want to make a connection to pin number 1, I must take a wire and connect it to pin number 1. And then that particular one I can connect it to whatever point I want. Similarly, if I want to make a connection to pin number 14, I would come to pin number 14, connect a wire there. And then if pin number 14, if I want to connect to the power supply line, I would connect it here. This is the way you would make a connection. Let's say that I want to connect pin number 7 to ground, and then let's say this bottom line is my ground. So what I would do, I would put a wire here and connect it to ground, and then what I would do, I would call this as my ground. So what we have here is a LDR, or a light dependent resistor. This you will be using in one of the experiments. So what happens is, depending on the light, the resistance of this particular component will change. If it is put in sunlight or bright, let's say the mobile torch, if we use it, the resistance of this will be about 1 kilo ohms. Whereas if you hide it with let's say a handkerchief or something opaque, this resistance would go to almost about 1 mego. And then depending on the resistor, the light intensity, the resistance value will change. So this is a useful component, very often used as a sensor to find out what is the intensity of light, like whether it's night or day. Let's say that you want to switch off. The experiment which you will be doing is an automated lamp which will come on automatically at night, and early morning it should go off. So for such application you can use a light dependent resistor.